Hi, and welcome to this week's Three Legs, Four Wheels F1 podcast. It's Paul here with
Dan,
Chris, Lee.
and I think we've had a theme tune tonight because we didn't last week.
for about 20 minutes.
Yeah,
Sorry, all the Uber Room fans out there.
yeah, both of you must be gutted.
And no, Jeff, you're not getting any extra royalties.
You don't get any to begin with.
No.
Well, we've had a full week of testing,
Well, we've had 4 days of testing.
which is a full week in F1 terms.
Well, we have-
unless you're Williams, then you've got a day and a half.
A baker's week.
a Williams week. It's definitely just 4 days.
That's half a baker's week, isn't
yeah,
it?
yeah. But we'd only had 1 day of testing when we podded last week, and you can't tell much from the first day of testing. Although, can you tell much from any of testing? Because, I mean, if you look at the fastest drivers over the whole 4 days, the fastest on the last day was Hulkenberg, wasn't it? Right at the end of the session, Hulkenberg put in the fastest lap for a Renault.
Just to pip Alexander Albon.
Yeah, Albon had been fastest for the rest of the day. Daniel Kvyat was fastest one of the days. Yeah, and we had Kimi Räikkönen and was it Vettel on the first day? I can't remember. I can't even remember who was fastest. But
Kimi was at the top at some point. Vettel was. And no sign of a Mercedes near the top, but they just testing for them is definitely in the first week. Let's go out. Let's get as many laps in as we can, which is why they get both drivers doing all 4 days split.
yeah, I mean, they put in a monstrous amount of laps. Nothing quite like. I think they got close to 200 laps on 1 day, and I think they would have done it, but they ran out of time. About 192 laps, I think they got. In 1
Bottas
day.
has said that they have a handling issue to sort out.
Yeah.
So I don't think everything's quite. I know Mercedes are usually ones to keep the powder dry, but I don't think everything's quite as rosy as it usually is at this time of year for Mercedes.
I think they
Easiest way to keep your powder dry is put it in a sandbag.
absolutely. I mean, I think they don't know how Ferrari are doing.
That's a really bad analogy because you use sandbags to protect against flooding. So you wouldn't want to put your powder in a sandbag if you wanted it to stay dry.
Okay, you put your powder behind a sandbag.
That's better.
Yeah.
Sorry, Chris.
No, quite right. Dan,
But this
Dan,
needed address.
these factually correct analogies are brought to you tonight by Dan. But yeah, I think Mercedes are a little bit worried as to. Oh, I think they're quietly worried. You know, people are quietly confident. I think Mercedes are quietly worried about how good Ferrari are, but it's all. I mean, Bottas has said about the corrections as well. He said it doesn't matter how you correct Ferrari's times for tires or fuel loads. They are fast. They are very fast. I mean,
Yeah.
they've clearly got a better package than they had at this time last year. Only Mercedes.
But
know.
let's be honest. They started the season with the best car last year as well.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
did, and they blew away everybody in testing last year as well. If you remember, I think Ferrari were fastest on every day apart from one in testing. We have seen a couple of quick laps from Mercedes, and it didn't. There was no massive worry. The biggest worry for Mercedes, I think, over testing was the fact that Hamilton was on a super quick lap, which looked like being the fastest of a particular day, and Robert Kubica was going very slow in the last sector, which forced Hamilton wide.
Robert Kubica was going very slow on all those laps because he was carrying about three extra tons of metalwork on all the sensors that he
Yeah.
had, which, to be honest, I've seen smaller wings on a jumbo jet.
Yeah, well, Williams got there eventually, didn't they? They did a day, well, nearly 2 days of running. Wasn't quite 2 days
I think
because
they managed 23 laps on the Wednesday afternoon
yeah,
after they finally got the car there.
yeah,
And then, obviously, they got the full day in on Thursday.
yeah. George Russell said the car gave him a special feeling. I think it meant it's moving.
Either that or there's some serious engine vibration problems.
And there has been speculation, completely unfounded, that Williams are so far behind with development of this car that they may not make the grid in Australia, but they've moved to destroy that completely and have guaranteed that they'll make
That is a load of
Australia.
bollocks.
Yeah, they're guaranteed they'll make
I mean,
Australia.
if
I mean,
they're
we're not
not talking
talking
grid in Australia, what are they fucking testing? Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah, but
Yeah,
they,
when Manor didn't make the grid in
Yeah.
Australia, they didn't test.
I
Exactly,
could
yeah.
have accepted that. Remember that year that Force India ran the
previous year's
previous
car
year's
with a new
car
wing on
with
it.
updated.
Yeah.
Yeah. If that had happened, I could maybe buy that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. We didn't do a show about it. Honest, it never existed.
Might be one of the first shows we did.
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
Was it really?
Yes.
Wow. Well remembered.
I'm going to resurrect the hard drive from that laptop, and I'm going to find the 2 or 3 unbroadcastable pilot shows we did.
I'm backing them up for patrons.
Edited highlights.
Yeah.
Of which there are none.
Edited lowlights,
Yes.
of which there are many.
Yes.
Back when I had a big old creaky chair to sit in
And a small house.
and a small house.
And we only had one microphone between the 3 of us, and it was pre-Dan.
It was pre-Dan.
PD.
How many episodes PD?
Was it like
Can't remember.
15?
15, 20 episodes.
Somewhere in the mid-teens, I think.
Yeah.
You and your bloody holidays.
So yeah.
I wasn't here. I didn't choose to keep him.
So yeah, can we know anything really from the first test?
I
Are we
think
going to
we-
find out anything in the second
I
test?
think we know Ferrari are good. I think we know Renault have made a step forward.
the Renault powered cars.
How big a step? Well, no, I just mean like
The
team
team,
Renault.
yeah.
Yeah.
How big a step forward? That's the question.
Daniel Ricciardo did an interesting test of his own whilst he was out in the Renault. He decided he would see how easy it was to follow a car that was doing a quick lap. He said, quite easy. Well,
Yeah.
wasn't that bad. Said I got quite close to them.
Yeah.
So I think these regs have made it easier to follow.
I'm quietly wondering whether that Renault might be snapping on with the Red Bull. You know.
I think I think you'll see Renault. I think Red Bull will have fallen back into the pack a little bit with their Honda power
think
unit.
so?
Yeah, just a little. I mean, I think the power's there.
Well, if they fall back, I think Renault might overtake them.
Sorry,
though.
I mean to. Yeah, no, that's what I mean. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think the reliability's there with Honda, but I'm worried that when they go to do. When we're worried that when they go racing
They're
and they
going to have to
start
start knocking
yeah,
the engine down. Yeah.
yeah.
I don't know. I think maybe what you've got going on in testing with Toro Rosso putting in really fast laps and with the Red Bull not really being there for speed but being there for big numbers.
Dear Toro Rosso, try and break it.
Yeah.
Do your best to break
Yeah.
this engine.
Get Toro Rosso running the quali sims. Red Bull run the race sims. Effectively, you're getting 4 engine tests for the price of 2, doing the same thing. Of course, the teams are going to share the data.
Yeah.
Or Honda's going to share the data between the teams.
Obviously, it's a first test, and we can't really tell anything right now. But Gasly isn't quite looking the replacement for Ricciardo.
Not instantly, but again, I mean, it's difficult to tell with drivers what setups they were running, what issues they were having, because we don't get team radio either, do we?
He did crash.
for the tests. Yeah, he crashed. Lando Norris put it in the gravel.
Slowest and strangest crash in a long time.
Gasly's crash.
No, Norris's. He was only,
Norris's.
he was only doing about 25 miles an hour in the back end twitch, and he just drove straight into the fence.
Fair enough. Seems a bit. Oh, it's a very strange place to crash, though, isn't it? Turn 5 in.
He
Spain.
explained what that was. It was tires. He said the brakes and the tires were really cold, and he said with the 60 mile an hour they were going at. He had to drive.
Was it 6?
Yeah, he had to drive at 60 mile an hour, and he said you wouldn't believe how scary it is driving a Formula One car at that speed. He said because you've got no downforce, nothing's up to temperature. He said, and you just turn the wheel, and the car keeps going in a
Yeah.
straight line.
Yeah. Also, the shiny tires was picked up by a podcast listener. I noticed.
Yes.
The new Pirelli chrome molds to make the tyres look shinier and has no effect on performance, apparently. Although, did anyone notice there were actually 6 tyre compounds being used in testing because they had a completely unmarked development tyre that came out usually in about the last half hour of the day.
I didn't see that. No, I did notice that obviously clearly all the fastest times were put in on the softest tire.
They look nice. You know, the shiny tires.
They look like old Formula One
Yeah, they
tyres.
do look like old Formula One tires.
Within about 3 laps, you can't actually tell anymore, but it looks good on the grid. I did notice that blistering is still appearing to be a major problem, especially it was on one of the Red Bulls that I can't remember if it was Gasly or Verstappen, but there was huge blistering on the left front late on in a session.
I
We're
didn't
talking
s-
at like a full ring around the centre of the.
Yeah, I didn't see blister on like that on anything else then, so that might be quite worrying for Red Bull.
It's
The
not
blister
that.
on the
It's drivers. It will reward drivers who the smoother inputs. Drivers with smoother inputs. Your Sergio Perez's and your
Yeah, but are
Daniel
we not? Are we not?
Ricciardo's.
Are we not bored? Are we not bored of watching the slowest drivers win races?
It's not that. No, because they're not slow. They're smooth. Jensen Button wasn't slow. He's
no,
very
I know
smooth.
that. Well,
Mark
got-
Webber's the same. Mark Webber wasn't slow. He was very smooth. But you get drivers like Lewis Hamilton. Even though he's adapted a little bit, the last few years. Max Verstappen.
he's quietly really good at keeping his tires together now. Hamilton.
Hamilton, sorry,
considering
yeah.
he just used to shred them, didn't
Yeah,
he?
yeah. Max is
He's a shredder.
He's
Yeah.
a ragged round.
yeah. That's what I mean. The kid who stamps his foot on the accelerator as soon as he gets out of a corner. That's who it's gonna affect, and those drivers are gonna have to adapt their style a little bit more. But I know what you mean. Should you be punished for being aggressive? Well, there's aggressive and there's too aggressive, isn't there? It'll be interesting to see how the tires pan out. But I don't want this whole season to be us talking every week about the tires.
No,
again.
it's, I
I think it bores everyone, including me.
yeah, I
When-
think there has to. There's going to have to be something really, really fucking interesting for it to be a tire conversation this year.
Yeah.
Other podcasts about rubber are available.
Yeah,
What you were saying
Some of
about,
them are about tyres.
what you were saying about Renault making an improvement power wise, I think the McLarens as well with the Renault power, like when they put the power down, they appeared to be pretty on it. But
I'm not sure. On day one, they were looking very, very impressive. But over the whole week, they were.
day one and day two, they
their,
did
their,
fast
lo-
times.
their long run pace wasn't there apparently.
No, which is what looks like they were running on day 3 and day 4. But when they went for single lap pace, it looked like they had decent power. So if the Renault power unit has stepped up, that will be more prominent in the Renault works team.
I hope so because McLaren need to be. If they're in the mid pack, really, it's McLaren. When you look at what they've got behind them, if they are just going to be in the mid pack, they really should be leading it. Haas look odd because Haas look like a quick car, but it looks incredibly difficult to drive and incredibly easy to crash.
And very unreliable as well. There was
Yeah.
a lot of
A lot of
times.
small things breaking.
Lots of
on the
spins,
Haas.
lots of
Yeah.
spins and offs and.
Yeah, but that could just be Grosjean.
No, but it was Magnussen as well. I mean, yeah, but that's what I mean. If you've got a car that's,
Fast but temperamental.
yeah, and you've got a driver which is fast but temperamental,
Yeah.
it's
You'd want the car to rein them in, wouldn't you?
yeah. So that seems. I think Haas might go backwards a little.
I don't know. What you mean into a barrier or
Oh yeah, backwards, sideways, upside down, like through another car. Over possible world champions, it's,
Yeah.
it's the possibilities for how that car could end up in 100 pieces is limitless.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know. There's been one thing taken away from that equation this year.
Wasn't it a couple of races for Grosjean?
Well, no, there's no there's no Ericsson to blame it on.
No, I don't think Ericsson has the blame when it comes to Grosjean, but I fear that maybe Haas's lack of, for want of a better word, like of commitment in finding like a driver lineup and really backing themselves might hurt them this year.
I think they've been brave rather than trying to be quite conservative and do what they know works.
I think they've been conservative with drivers though, haven't they?
no, but I mean conservative with the
Not
car
necessarily,
design and the.
because Pietro Fittipaldi got a couple of runs last week. It was meant to be in the car.
Didn't get a drive though.
It was meant to be in the car Tuesday. Well, I haven't got a super license
no
yet.
super license.
Yeah, no, but that's what I mean. I'm still amazed Grosjean had a drive this year. I find that ridiculous.
Well, the only other one that was available was Ericsson, and really, I don't think he'd go there after being blamed for Baku.
I think he'd have gone there to stay in Formula One, but I don't know.
Could potentially have had Verline unless he's still He's hooked to Mercedes.
No, he's Ferrari
which
man
he
now.
isn't.
Yeah.
Ferrari have him now.
Yeah.
I think there's probably if you sat down and wrote a list out, there's probably a good list of drivers that they probably could have had that isn't Grosjean.
Yeah. I think that the car design, I think Haas has gone for slightly something a bit braver, and they've taken a risk trying to get up a little bit, trying to push to the head of that midfield. So what they've ended up with is a car that's really fast, but as I said before, temperamental. They don't know how it's going to behave in the drivers don't know how it's going to behave in
And
circles.
they're now a Ferrari customer as well,
Yeah,
rather than the favourite son.
So it's going to be what you might end up with is a Haas that's super quick and able to put in quite good single lap pace, but the back end might just snap away at any point and cause everybody really big problems.
It
So they'll have
sounds to me like a recipe for even more binary results.
Yeah, that's what I was
Yeah.
about to say. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what you're going to end up with is binary results where 1 week, I don't know, Monza, for example, where it's quite difficult to, well, I say quite difficult, but it's not a very twisty circuit. Monza, which is quite a quick circuit, Haas could be right up near the top end, and then the following week, Haas are, both in the barrier at turn 1.
Suzuka, something like that.
Yeah, exactly. I think they're gonna have problems with that car, and it might take them a little while to iron it out. But my other issue with the Haas is, if they do that, are they going to have to back off the pace in order to preserve results and cars? And do you know what I mean?
Magnussen was reasonably solid last year.
So yeah, but I mean, are you going to end up with a slower car because if they do push it slightly to its limit, then it just snaps, and then you've got you can't race.
Maybe. Who knows?
Nobody wants a slow car because
Yeah, Magnussen,
because it's
Magnussen
unsafe when it's quick.
Magnussen was solid last year because he had a reliable car under him. Because that Haas didn't really suffer from a great number of mechanical problems, and what we saw last week was a variety of things. I think there was 3 times the stops on track because of fuel pressure problems or fuel pump issues. That's not what you need.
No, it isn't.
Also, I think that I know people get all excited about the black and gold livery on cars, but I think the Haas looks rubbish. It just it doesn't.
We went over this, didn't we? When one of the podcasts, was it the one that Lee missed?
I think it was.
It
Yeah.
feels like they pinched somebody else's livery.
Well, they
Yeah,
have.
I
They
know they
pinched
have,
Lotus's
but
livery, but it's just it's unimaginative, isn't it?
It
Do you
is
know what I mean?
unimaginative. I mean,
Yeah.
given the fact like they've got a sponsor in Rich Energy there, you'd think Rich Energy would have preferred to slap their own identity on Formula One rather than.
Well, they have, because you look at a can of Rich Energy, and it's very minimal. It's black with a gold logo
yeah,
on it.
but that it didn't need to be the same as the Lotus.
Even just make the side pods gold.
Yeah.
It wouldn't look like a Lotus.
Do you
It'd
like-
still be the colours.
Yeah.
It'd still hark back to the Lotus,
Have a-
but
have a
look
black
like a
car.
different design.
Have a black car with a big, like the Rich Energy logo.
Yeah.
Like half across the back of the car.
Yeah, or the
That would look really nice.
exactly.
Which apparently is a stylized deer, because the Rich in Rich Energy stands for Richmond,
I thought it was a deer.
which is a park in Surrey with lots of deer.
It looks like when you see the cans of Rich Energy, it looks like a drink that somebody would have bought in Blade Runner.
Yes,
It's-
I agree. Yeah.
No, I bought mine in the Hooded Ram.
It's close.
Although, having said that, do you remember Burn, the energy drink that used to sponsor Lotus? Had a can of that when I went to Italy some years ago. And it literally kept me awake for 12 hours.
Yeah.
I was flagging a little bit because
I don't
it's
like
hot
energy
country,
drinks.
and I was like, oh, it's really warm. It's August. It's 30 degrees all the time. I'm really tired. Had a can of Burn, and at about 2:30 in the afternoon, and at 2:30 the following morning, just still wide awake.
I'm almost
I need
convinced.
to sleep at some point.
I'm almost convinced I haven't had a drink of any energy drink in a good, at least 20 years.
Well, I know that's bollocks because we've done taste tests of
Oh, no, a whole
two different
can.
energy drinks on this show.
Kubica.
Kubica and Lewis Monster.
Did I have the Lewis one?
Yep.
But I remember having a taste of both of them. I just don't like them. I mean but that's what I mean. Like
both shit.
yeah.
Yes.
But no, they just taste like energy drink. Energy drink is a shit taste.
No, the Lewis one tastes of energy drink and artificial fruit flavour.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, the Lewis one's especially shit.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
just
But
no.
apparently, that's the most popular selling monster drink, though. The Lewis, what flavour?
I prefer the Rossi one.
Yeah, same here. Still got a few cans in. I might be allowed to drink them again. one day. Going back to
Formula One.
Going back to Formula One rather than Formula One product placement. I think we have to look at the situation at Williams. No car at the circuit until the early hours of Wednesday morning. Minimal running on the Wednesday. Massively slow laps with the amount of extra aero testing parts that were put on there. And they did get 100 extra kilometres in on Saturday, I think it was, because they had a filming day at Barcelona. And there were whispers that they found another couple of issues with the car,
Okay.
which I think it's a good thing that they found them out during a filming day rather than testing, because all being well, that means they won't lose any time this week because the first test starts Tuesday morning.
Yeah, but as I say, it's very difficult to know from testing. We were saying last week, Braun didn't turn up for the first test and then turned up for the second test back in the days when you had 3 tests, and turned up at the second test and blew everyone away.
Yeah.
Yes,
I'm
but
not
again,
saying
they'd
Williams-
put a new engine in the back.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not saying Williams are going to do the same thing, but yeah.
I'll reserve judgment on what that car is going to be like until we've seen this test. But at the minute, it definitely looks like that's what's going to be propping the grid up.
You'd think if they were late for the test because they come up with something that was really going to help the car, and so they'd said, right, stop production, we're going to do this instead.
Yeah.
It's really going to help us, guys. They would have said something about that, wouldn't they? They're not going to say, oh, yeah, it's a bit embarrassing. They'd say, no, there's reasons for this.
I think
Don't worry.
The whole outfit seems fucked, doesn't it? You know, there's very little positivity coming out of the team. You know, even the idea of like getting on the track and getting the last 2 days of testing on, it still felt like a failure rather than no, we got the car to the first test sort of thing.
Yeah, but if they were claiming that as a success, then we would be really worried.
There should have been an Eric Boulier moment. There should have been somebody damage controlling the narrative that comes out of the team.
And instead, they pushed Claire Williams out in front of the microphones to
Yeah.
say, sorry, guys, but we're not going to be ready in time.
Said this joke on Twitter. I'm going to say it again. That woman has taken more passes than Ronaldo. It's just not. It's not right. It can be no fucking coincidence that when Pat Simmons left Williams falls apart and everything's getting pointed towards Paddy Lowe. And I don't believe that one of the key guys for Mercedes that got them to the point where they were winning world championships has suddenly forgot how to do his job.
Well, don't not just that, but remember Paddy Lowe worked at Williams once before when he was Nigel Mansell's race engineer during his world championship winning season.
And McLaren as well.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
he
the
knows
glory days of McLaren had a Paddy Lowe in it.
Yep. Lewis Hamilton world championship was
Yeah.
in a team that had Paddy Lowe somewhere in the hierarchy. I don't think he was quite at the top at that point, but he was strategy engineer or something. So
There's something there. There's something not right with that team. We'll never know because it's behind closed doors.
Paddy appears to not be a public figure anymore as well.
No.
doesn't he? I mean, he was never any good in front of the cameras anyway. But
He's going to be talking to the media on Thursday, I think, after testing's finished.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he was due to have a press conference last week, which got cancelled at the very last minute.
that was because of all the rumours surrounding his future. He probably didn't want to talk about his future and wanted to talk about something else, which the press conference was probably actually called for. It's kind of like, you know, when something political happens at the moment in the UK and all anybody wants to talk about is Brexit. Can you ask me about the reason I'm actually here?
Yeah, must get
Yeah.
frustrating.
Must be annoying for Paddy Lowe. When everyone's like, "Oh, who's the press conference? Paddy Lowe? Is he going to quit?" I heard rumours about it. No, I want to talk about the car. Yeah, Paddy, we don't think because people are just going to ask you questions about your future. Well, I'm not doing it then.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can completely understand that. Hopefully, he doesn't leave Williams because I think he's good for that team.
I think they're going to be in more trouble if he does leave.
I think they're in quite a bit of trouble anyway. I mean, being sponsored by a mobile company that hasn't made any mobiles yet. Well done.
Yeah, they do seem to be in need of a big change.
I think the whole team infrastructure is just shafted from the ground up.
Lee said if they don't have before pre-pod.
I don't think it's the ground up. I think it's from the top down. Like that team has been in Formula One for a long time. It's not like we hear. I know there's been a few people leave and stuff like that, but when you look at the facilities Williams has and the members of that team that must still be there from when they had the second best car on the grid with Massa and Bottas in it, those people are still in that team. The only thing that's changed is the leadership.
I think they're trying to be a Garagista team in a Formula One where you can't do that anymore.
Yeah, probably, possibly. But I mean, can't you? They're essentially the same as Red Bull. I mean, not now because obviously Red Bull's tied up with Honda. But Red Bull were a customer team. That fair enough. They've got Adrian Newey, which you always get like 10 plus on your speed points if it's top trumps when you've got Adrian Newey in.
Red Bull have a difference in that they've got a budget.
Oh, they've got a load of money, yeah. But I don't think it's impossible to do what they're doing, and they've landed what has been the best engine in Formula One for a long time. I can't understand how. I mean, don't get me wrong. I realise building a Formula One car is an incredibly fucking confusing thing to do, but I don't expect them to win world championships. But I don't understand why they can't build a car as good as a Toro Rosso, for instance. Why can't they? Why can't they go down that road of like, look, we're not going to be able to have the best aero. We're probably not going to be the best chassis. If we can just do sixes all round on this car, then at least we can go through the year like scraping points up here and there.
I think they can't do that because Toro Rosso are allowed to do that.
Toro Rosso is a bad example.
Yeah, they're a
but,
junior
yeah.
team.
Haas isn't a bad example.
Force India.
Force India's not a bad example.
Racing Point as they are now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay?
Yeah.
You know, that made the most of what they had.
With a lower budget than Williams.
Allegedly so. And
not now.
No. And
ended up going bankrupt.
Ended up going bankrupt. Some of Williams' money is now in that team.
I blame a pirate and not the team for that.
Yeah.
Home tapings killing Formula One.
What's the Racing Point chassis actually called? The RP01?
It's on our website.
Is it?
Yes.
Or is it the LS01?
If it is, I take that as a great compliment.
The LS01. I was thinking more Lawrence Stroll than Lee Stevens, but
yeah, but you'd be wrong. And yeah, thanks, Loz. Yeah, I don't think Williams should be where they are, and I can't help but think in the world we're in at the minute and the climate we're in with what people can say about certain things, that if Claire Williams was called Clive Williams, she wouldn't be getting such an easy ride of what's going on.
well, there is
RP19.
RP19. Okay, so that's Racing Point and the year of manufacture original.
Right.
So, like the meme with all the Ferrari names. That was a good one. But I think Williams have got all sort of starry-eyed looking at what Force India were doing,
I
getting fourth place.
I think you're overthinking it. Let's not their team boss is the person that during qualifying when they had a car in Q3, I think, didn't they? At this point, instead of paying attention to what was going on in the garage and what was going on the track, was texting someone about fucking overalls. That's ridiculous. That's absolutely ridiculous. Could you imagine a Maurizio Arrivabene with Vettel out on track going, well, I didn't like the way Mario had his shirt not tucked in this morning. It's crazy.
Yeah, I know what you mean. But that's why I think Williams are refusing, not refusing as such, but aren't looking at anything other than themselves and they keep everything internalized because they've got
Because the problem has got Williams behind it, so
Yeah,
they
but-
can't say it because she's his daughter.
But Force India did what Force India did, and Williams still believe that they can do that job, but better. The truth is, they can't.
Yeah,
I think they could. I think they've got the personnel power. I think they just need run better.
I think Williams and McLaren have
Yeah.
the same problem, which is that they are still living in an old school world.
Yeah. I mean, look at I'm just thinking about it there. McLaren's last successes were essentially as a Mercedes customer team.
Yeah.
As like the de facto factory team for Mercedes before Mercedes became their own team. And then you've got Williams' last real successes. Okay, they won a race in 2012. But their last real successes were when they were a BMW factory team, essentially. Let's be honest. To the point where they were blue and white.
Yeah.
This is also another reason why it's really bad news that these engine regulation changes didn't come in for 2021, because and scared new engine manufacturers away. Because while you have the 3 engine manufacturers in Formula, well, sorry, there's 4, but while you have three of the 4 engine manufacturers in Formula One that have their own teams, there is always going to be a conflict of interest with their
Yeah.
customers winning races.
Yeah, there is. Yeah, it's
That could have been fixed with a VW and Aston Martin a little bit.
for me. That's worrying for Formula One.
Oh, I think I do. I like.
Well, what was I saying before the pod? Looking for some stuff for Formula One stuff. Yeah, I found the popular Twitter account F1 in the 90s, and it was a picture of Bertrand Gachot and Ukyo Katayama in the 92 LaRousse, and the numbers on the car were 29 and 30.
Yeah.
Well, a couple of years ago, we had 18 cars on the grid.
Yeah, it's crazy. And do you know what? What it reminds me of what's going on with Formula One right now? It's a bit like Brexit, because the whole thing,
Like
has-
cake.
No, the whole thing has been smothered in petrol, and we're driving towards
A fire.
a fire, and no one's talking about it.
Yeah. Yeah, Williams trying to keep things internalized. Are we all in the same boat now? It's just like Claire Williams, obviously family, but maybe they should bring somebody in
In the same
who can run us
in the same boat.
team.
I've been varnishing this bad boy for years.
Yeah, but we're all there now. Though, aren't
I
we?
set the cabins up. I put your names on the bunks. I knew you'd arrive.
Lee is Noah, who was building the Ark.
The beard's long enough these days.
If you build it, they will come.
Well, not necessarily, but but the sorry, my mind's gone to terrible places.
Has it got something to do with I believe I can fly?
No, not quite.
Okay.
No, it's that baseball pitch he's got in his back garden that's never
Yeah.
been used.
But yeah, I've totally lost my train of thought now.
Toot toot.
But we're all on the same boat, aren't we? That Claire Williams, whilst keeping the Williams name in Formula One, because let's be honest, Frank can't make all of the races now, and he can't really run the team. Claire probably needs to look at bringing somebody in who can run the team
Well, I think that's what
while she's the public
Smedley
face.
was for originally.
Do you think that's what Paddy Lowe's job essentially is, or
I don't know, because he's not really the team leader, is it? They needed a Toto Wolff. I tell you what, there's another one as well.
Toto went the other way around? He left Williams and went to Mercedes.
No, yeah, but we don't know how. Clearly, that man can run a fucking team. We don't know how
What would Williams
instrumental
be
he was
like
then.
now if it was the other way, if it had gone the other way? And
Not Mercedes, but it does make you wonder, because he was there during that Pat Fry time as well. It makes you wonder how instrumental he was in whipping the team together too.
Yeah. Yeah, was it about 2013, was it, that Toto left? 2012, 2013?
Well, that felt like it came so out of left field, didn't it? You know, like Toto Wolff, you saw him there. We knew he was involved with Bottas and something like
Yeah.
that, and there was some money that was going into Williams through him. And then all of a sudden, oh, he's the boss of Mercedes.
well, yeah, didn't he own 10% of the team?
Yeah, but
he had to sell it.
Yeah.
Wasn't that part of the thing when Bottas came on board that he had to sell his remaining stake in Williams?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I think he still owned a minimal shareholding up until 2 years ago.
So, yeah, it's dire straits for Williams.
It's a shame. I mean, I do worry, like genuinely worry, that this is the last season for Williams in Formula One
Before they go up for sale.
before they go up for sale or go bankrupt, or even not, because obviously you've got the Williams technology side, so I don't think they're the team that's going to go bankrupt, but. Like you say, they could go up for sale.
Sell off the Formula One team and keep the technology.
It turns into Jordan. You know, when Jordan was up for sale, where you had
Midland, Spiker.
Yeah, well, no, even before that, when it was still at Jordan, and you were looking at the car, and there was like no advertising on it. It was a basic shell of what the rules said a Formula One car had to be. And at that point, when it was just that yellow car going around the track, it was a driving sandwich board for itself, wasn't it?
Essentially, yeah. It's just like, come and buy me, everyone. But the just had the Jordan logo on it, didn't it, on the top of the car?
Yeah.
Yeah, but the
but that was because in the space of 1 season they got screwed over by Vodafone and Honda.
Yes. Yeah.
Because Vodafone switched to McLaren at the last minute,
And Honda switched.
to
its own
BAR.
team. Yeah.
I think Williams' best hope is to do something similar to what they've done before with the, they've got to become a de facto factory team, if not a factory team. Now, okay, it didn't work out.
There's not enough factories now, though.
But what I mean is they're going to have to bring in somebody else. Can they coax BMW back into Formula One?
Very doubtful.
Probably not.
Very doubtful.
Very doubtful. Can they look at maybe?
I think what they might need to do is do what Racing Point have done and coax a multi-billionaire organisation into it.
Yeah, but the thing with Racing Point is they were doing well. Like Lawrence Stroll bought himself an operation that was running well with very little money. So he knows that just by giving them a bit more money, everything should just work a little bit easier.
And they might not have been in as the troubles that they were in if Vijay Mallya had done everything legally.
Well done as well, guys. Like, give us a pat on the back for everyone for just calling them Racing Point without a stutter or a stammer.
I called them Force India before.
Oh, damn it. I think I did as well, actually.
But I was
Fuck it.
referring to the team as they were previously.
Yes.
When they
Yeah.
the team previously known as
But
Force
referring
India.
to them now, this year, that's just been a few Racing Points thrown into the table. Like it. Keep it up, guys. Good hustle.
Sport Pacer Racing Point.
Well, technically, Sport Pacer Racing. Full stop.
Point.
Full stop might be quite apt.
Who knows, though? I mean, see,
Worst looking car on the grid, by the way.
they could drag it all back together and then be in like the back end of the pack, but at least fighting by the end of the test.
Oh, I'd love it if everybody was bunched together. If it was,
If Williams are at the back, but they're half a second behind whoever's at the front.
yeah, that's brilliant. But we're looking like kind of Mercedes Ferrari again, aren't we? Out front, really. Let's be honest. And then behind that, nobody knows. We're not even sure that Red Bull are going to be the third best team because it just doesn't. Nothing obvious has panned out.
Just say Honda.
Yeah, because Honda doesn't look like anything's going to pan out. So I mean, it could be that Williams are the third best team. It's unlikely.
It's unlikely.
By the end of Thursday, Williams were putting in comparable times to what the other teams were doing by the end of Tuesday.
I think they were in low fuel to flatter to take some of the heat away from.
I did look at this, and when George Russell set his fastest time on Thursday, he wasn't using the softest tyres, which also says not low fuel either.
Does it? Are you sure?
Yeah, because if he was using the medium tyres, then you're not looking at a quali sim.
I don't think they're doing a quali sim. I think they threw the car out with no fuel on it, so they put a quick lap time in. Not for quali sims.
No,
just,
I looked at some
just for embarrassment.
I looked at some of his previous times, and there was about a 10 or 15 lap run that he did,
Oh, that's not too
and they
bad.
were all in the
range.
mid 121s.
Well, I do hope so. I mean, just the fact Russell's in the car as well. I want that car to be good for him to show what he's capable of doing. Is the best thing that could happen for Williams is for George Russell to be like a second clear of Kubica all the time, that to hopefully coax Mercedes into helping out.
Possibly. I mean, we spoke about Mercedes having a customer team before, didn't we? Like a second team, much like Ferrari are doing with Alfa Romeo, and much like Toro Rosso have been for years now under Red Bull. It looked like Mercedes were going to buy Manor, didn't it, at one point, or at least invest heavily in Manor, and then Manor was just like, "Oh no, we're folding. This isn't the thing. We have to go."
Yeah.
And yeah, it's if they are going to do it, they need to do it. I think the talks need to happen now.
It worked for Sauber.
Yeah, it worked brilliantly for Sauber. I mean, I can't think of a Mercedes sub company that they could become, if you know what I mean. Like like BMW, Williams,
HWA.
Yeah, well, that's not really a.
It's a Mercedes-run racing team. Well, it's
I don't think it has to be that close.
HWA are
They run
effectively
Mercedes Formula E team,
and
DTM.
and coming into WEC as well.
But you can't buy an HWA car, whereas you can buy an Alfa Romeo.
I don't even
Yeah.
think it needs to be
So
that close.
Mercedes would have to be smart, wouldn't it?
Yeah, essentially speaking, yeah.
I think their Mercedes would be merely looking after their future possible
No,
driver.
I've got it. I know exactly what happens. Renault buy Williams, and they become Dacia.
I'll just start choking.
Yeah, why not?
Or Nissan. Kia.
Kia Formula One team. No, unlikely.
Or SsangYong buy into it just to try and get another South Korean Grand Prix.
I don't want to ever see another South Korean Grand Prix.
I am with Flood.
Yeah. I don't miss
And
it.
I never said that was a good idea.
I would prefer to see a North Korean Grand Prix first, just for shits and giggles.
Oh, did you see it happened? Kim Jong-un won.
Just like that 2014 World Cup match where North Korea drew 1-1 with Brazil.
Did it?
They didn't. They lost.
Do you not
But
remember my
the
idea?
TV coverage stopped in North Korea when the score was 1-1.
do you not remember my idea for a Korean Grand Prix, which covered both North and South, but both sides of the track mirror each other. But so you just split it up into two separate sectors. But even though they're exactly the same, the sector times for North Korea would be like 1.5 seconds faster than South.
Well, they couldn't have a Formula E race there because you wouldn't be able to get any E in the north. We haven't talked about McLaren a great deal yet.
We did a little.
Yeah, but it's one of our podcasts.
There's not a lot to talk about, though, is there?
James Key starting his job.
Yeah, that's good.
After the first race.
Finally sorted out. Yeah, he's going to be starting the week.
The week after the Australian
the
Grand
week
Prix.
after the Australian Grand Prix.
Means he can stop leaving USB sticks behind bricks.
And just walk in to the McLaren Technology
It's a bad
Centre.
time because late March apparently is the sort of prime time for getting your garden sorted out for the rest of the year.
Oh no, he's going to finish his gardening leave at the wrong time. You can't do anything with your garden in winter, and he's been on leave this whole time.
That's Helmut Marko stabbing in the back one last time.
Yeah.
Tell you what, it shows how important Toro Rosso think he is. To keep him tied up until the season starts.
Yeah.
Right now, you can have him. We've done
After
as
the
much as we
first race.
can. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
I mean, this has been going on since October. It was before the end of last season this all started, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
he's put on
I think it was
gardening
like
leave.
halfway through the year, wasn't it? It was.
Yeah, I
it
think
was
earlier
early
than
last
that,
year. Yeah.
I think it was possibly August, possibly like summer break time.
But I thought there was like rumblings. There was talks about it quite early on before even a deal was done.
Because McLaren made the shit idea of announcing that they'd signed James Key before James Key had decided to tell Toro Rosso he was leaving.
Whoops.
And also, not all that long after he'd signed a 2-year contract with Toro Rosso.
Yeah.
That reminds me of splitting up with a girlfriend by texting my friend, but accidentally her telling my friend I was splitting up with her.
Oops. That's not going to work.
It did.
Oh, it did. Yeah. Well, it probably worked a bit too well.
But back to McLaren, I'm hopeful about this year for them because the car does look and seem to be a lot more reliable and stable than it was last season.
Does, but it seems to be slow on the long run pace. The long run pace has it just above Williams when you correct the fuel corrections and stuff like that on Autosport.
Fuel corrections, that takes me back about 3 years
Yeah.
or so.
But yeah, I was really excited watching what McLaren was doing, and then I had it explained to me by people that knew what was going on, and I'm not quite as excited now.
Yeah. The short run pace seems good. Their long run pace is not
I
so
think the
good.
thing is they look in the pack now, but they're not at the front.
Though, of course, the thing to remember is it's testing. They're
Yes.
doing tests.
Yeah.
They're not going out to prove who has the fastest car.
And
This
this
is
is
true.
true of any team. Any team could be going out there with such a basic setup going, this is how we expect the car to behave. If it behaves this certain way, then we know that what we put on it afterwards is going to work really well either in test 2
Yeah,
or when we get to the race in Australia.
Bearing in mind that a lot of teams have big updates for Australia.
Yeah, that's it.
the other thing to remember, but to think is how quietly confident Red Bull seem to be.
I'm not sure they're quiet about it.
I know. I think there's
They're going on about how awesome Honda is.
No, they're going on about how awesome Honda is, but like even their car, they seem to be doing that, not topping the timesheets things too much, but not being particularly worried about Ferrari and things like that. You know, it's going to be one way or the other. They're either going to fall back, like what we were saying before, or they're going to be fucking right up there.
Yeah.
And it would be good to see them up there because then that proves that they've definitely made the right decision with the Honda engines. Obviously, they've had the year's experiment with Toro Rosso.
I think they've made the right decision anyway, even if it's not quite there.
Watch now, Honda pull it out the bag and Gasly wins the world championship.
That would be highly amusing.
I'm just thinking if Gasly wins the world championship, how many crashes has Max had on the way to not winning it?
I don't think Gasly and Verstappen will get on very well, if I'm honest.
Do you know what? I don't think they'll have to. How
do you mean?
I don't think Gasly's on the same level.
No, probably not, but I don't think they'll get on very well as teammates. You know, I don't think you've got that. I don't think Max is ready to be the experienced older head within a
I
team.
think you're right there, definitely.
And Pierre Gasly is the eager young buck, and Max isn't quite ready to have that title almost taken from him. Do you know what I mean?
No, but
he's still the young, fast kid.
Yeah.
I don't think that'll matter, though, if he batters him. If he consistently outqualifies him and consistently outraces him, I don't think that becomes an issue.
Yeah.
It's only going to be a problem if they're close, especially if one of them's being asked to move aside for the other one.
But they both seem to me like the kind of driver who, if something's not going their way, will become very whiny in the media.
Oh, I think Gasly might be whiny,
Yeah.
but
Oh, I think he will.
I don't think there's going to be a lot you can do about it. But this is, I think the disappointment of the year this year is going to be Dan being proved right by Charles Leclerc. I don't like we were talking when that first happened. Like I think people got very excited about someone coming in and blowing the doors off Vettel, and I don't think it's going to happen.
Just the performance he was putting in that Sauber late season. I just hope he can carry that race performance over. He did a very special qualifying lap in Brazil when he thought there was nothing left in the car,
Yeah.
and managed to get through to Q3. No. He said, "I'm going to give it one more go," and then went out and got it into Q3.
Charles Leclerc will win races this season, but he'll only win the races that Vettel can't.
And anyway,
Yeah, but I mean, you've got other
We said
cars
that-
on the grid as well.
yeah, we said that about Kimi Raikkonen. He won one race.
Yeah.
Bearing in mind that Ferrari had
I-
the fastest car for a good portion of that season.
And
Kimi
w-
Raikkonen won one race when they didn't have the fastest car.
and Bottas didn't win a race. You know,
No.
I don't. I think when you've got a driver like Lewis Hamilton in a Mercedes and a driver like Sebastian Vettel, even though he does seem to be like the sheens took off him, I don't think if you're their teammates in those teams, winning a race is a given.
No.
Especially as well if Renault, when you've got Red Bull there, which are so good on aggressive strategies at stealing a win. Ricardo himself, just the way he drives, is really good at like grabbing an opportunity to upset something if it comes his way. That's why Bottas didn't win a race, because the opportunity, apart from the failure, because I think there was one race, Baku, wasn't it?
Baku, where he got the puncture when he should have won.
Yeah. See, I still think when he had to let Lewis past, I still think Lewis would have won that race. I don't think Bottas was fast enough to keep Lewis behind him. I think he'd have just drove around him if he wasn't told to get past.
I'm not sure, but Bottas has said he wouldn't. Has said in first test that he wouldn't have done it the same way now. It's just like, well, it's easy to say that now in testing at the beginning of a season.
That's great. If he hadn't have done, he wouldn't be at testing this year.
Yeah, probably. Yeah,
Yeah.
Ocon would be sat in that car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's that simple, isn't it?
Yeah. Because he didn't have a contract at that point, did he? Let's be honest. I don't think it was announced, was he, for 2019 by that point?
No, it was. I think it was after the European races.
No one has got more pressure on them this year, I don't think, than him.
He's on another 1-year deal again.
He's on a 1-year deal. George Russell is in the other car, and Ocon is sat on the sidelines. I personally think
Ocon's doing tests as well. He's got
Ocon-
FP1s.
yeah, Ocon's doing and you can bet whose car he's getting.
Yeah, he's not getting Lewis's.
No, and I still believe that. Oh, good lord! That Ocon, that George Russell, when you look at how he was in Formula 2, he has a chance of that Mercedes drive next year. If he outperforms that Williams, even if he's not winning, but if he's constantly ahead of Kubica and mixing it with cars he can't mix it with.
Yeah.
Because that would be less of a gamble in my eyes. Now Ocon, even if he gets FP1s, will be a constant gamble to put in one of the top teams next year, after having a year out.
As I said, unless, of course, Mercedes decide to plough all their money into Williams.
Well, yeah. But, that would be an option as well.
Ocon and Russell do a year in...
Oh, no, if Russell was to go to Mercedes with Lewis Hamilton and Ocon was to go to Williams, that's a possibility as well. I find it odd to think that any of the top teams would take a driver on that's had a whole year out. It seems odd. That's why people go into junior teams.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
No.
It's a very unfortunate situation for Esteban Ocon, but...
But he didn't deserve it. He didn't deserve his drive.
It's still unfortunate. Doesn't change the fact.
No,
it's unfortunate.
So it is unfortunate, but he kind of brought it on himself. He hasn't been the driver that he was in his first season.
No.
Since the first season.
Since he was told stop crashing with Perez.
Yeah.
Which is not unreasonable, let's be honest.
It's not unreasonable, no.
But I think the position that he was put in with Force India was stop racing Perez as much. He's the one that's keeping the team afloat with what his sponsors are bringing in.
Yeah.
You're just ballast.
But when you're a team and you have to have a constant ship to shore conversation with both drivers about rules of engagement and let him pass so he can have a go and then he's going to drop back and let you through.
Yeah.
It's not ideal.
No.
That was Sauber up to last year.
Yeah.
So we got a second test that starts tomorrow.
Second test starts tomorrow. Now, apparently, we're going to be seeing a lot of race sims in this one.
And most people in the know believe that we'll see a little bit more true pace from Mercedes. So if they're still 8th and 9th,
I hope so.
Look for an interesting season ahead.
Yeah, or not, as the case may be.
Yeah.
You think it might be a dull Ferrari win everything season?
Maybe. If Renault and Red Bull haven't got the job done to the point where they can challenge and Mercedes have slipped back to Red Bull and Toro Rosso. See, what I worry for Mercedes is, and I said this last year, and they didn't have the best car last year. They had a very good car. But James Allison he hasn't made the Paddy Lowe Mercedes or the Adrian Newey Red Bull or the Adrian Newey McLaren. And there's all when you look back at the Lotus, he was very good at building a really good car, a race winning
A
car.
solid all rounder,
Yeah. But
but
that's
not spectacular at anything.
that's rarely the world championship winning car.
Yeah,
Mercedes wouldn't have won the world championship last year without a Lewis Hamilton plugged into it. I think that he was the only driver on the grid last year, barring maybe Fernando Alonso, that you could have put in that car and he would win the championship. Vettel wouldn't have won the championship in that car.
do we all miss Fernando Alonso?
No.
No, I do.
I'll miss him
I'm-
when we start
I'm
racing.
missing Alonso at the moment.
Yeah.
Well, apparently he's going to be at testing at some point this week.
Yeah. Will
He
he
won't
be
be-
in the car?
It's, well...
The testing schedule says
The
not.
testing schedule says that he won't be in the car. There's no non-race drivers testing this week.
God, just watch now. Carlos Sainz gets a cold on. one
Or
of the-
electrocuted.
Yeah, yes, there is that. Yeah.
Gets Lando to put something in his tea.
Yeah, well, yeah, there was that. Yeah, Lando was the T-boy last year, wasn't he? For incidentally, just quickly, whilst we've gone back to McLaren, the pre-order for the 2019 team wear and that jackets look amazing, good orange and black, but they start at £180.
Motherfucker.
If you want the 3-in-1, it's £350.
Does Lando deliver it?
I don't think I've ever spent 180 quid on a single item of clothing in my life, and I'm including suits in that.
I'm still waiting for the Alfa
I bought
Romeo
a suit
team.
for £1,000 once.
Why?
I was best man for Ben's wedding.
And Ben's worth £1,000 for a day.
No, absolutely not. And I wore it this twice. I wore it once to Ben's wedding and against my friend Andy Cook's wedding. And at Andy Cook's wedding, I fell down a spiral staircase and ripped the knees out of it.
Oh no!
Unfortunately, it was pinstripe and off a roll, which they couldn't get any more of the material for.
I would have just hired one.
Hired a suit.
Yeah.
Well, to look super sharp, didn't I? I did.
You can do in a hired suit.
I did. It looked super sharp. For,
Was it tailored to
yeah.
your?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was tailored.
You just don't strike me as the Barney Stinson type. That's all I can say.
Oh, I would love to be in a job to wear a suit all the time. I love wearing suits.
See, when you wear
You
suit,
can wear a
yeah.
suit all the time in your job.
Yeah, but you look weird and canky, and they don't last very long.
When you wear a suit every day,
That could be your decorator's company gimmick.
Maybe.
when you wear a suit every day, it becomes quite tedious.
You don't wear bib
Quite-
and brace overalls every day, do you?
No, but
How
I
often-
used to wear a suit every day, and it does become quite tedious.
How
I'm now
often do
very
you have
glad.
to iron a crease into bib and brace overalls?
I haven't ironed for a good 20 years.
There we go then.
But yeah, maybe. No, dry cleaners iron things for you. And then it's all about hanging it properly.
Yeah, it is about hanging it. But you gotta
Yeah.
have a suit bag.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Welcome to 3 Legs, 4 Suits.
This is just a dire look into my future because I'm going to be going for jobs which may require suits.
I know a good tailor.
Yeah, he's the one driving around in the McLaren P1. Registration plate, Lee bought me this.
We'll all be perfectly honest here. Lee
If
probably
you can
shouldn't
get
have
one of
gone
them
to
for
Peter
£1,000
Louise.
quid,
No.
Putting his kids through college. So we don't really know what's going to happen with this week's testing.
Nobody does.
Going
That's
back
because it hasn't
going back on-
happened yet.
Oh, we can't really predict what's going to happen in this week's
Because
testing.
it's in
that's
the
never
future.
stopped us before.
That is true. Anyone want to go for something bold?
I think Flood's right. I think we'll see more pace from Mercedes. If we don't see Mercedes topping timesheets,
Or at least at the top for part of the day.
yeah,
before
we're
Ferrari
a tenth
nick it.
away from Ferrari or above Ferrari with a crazy McLaren top sort of thing.
Yeah. If we see Ferrari followed by Alfa Romeo, expect a lot of front wing
See,
redesigns.
I think Alpha's pace is a bit of fluff. I think they're much closer to the mid pack than what they seem
almost
to
definitely
be.
the same with Toro Rosso.
Yeah,
Bag sanding then. We haven't got that one in this year
no,
yet.
I was just going to say they're screaming Force India to
Charles
me.
Leclerc has used the term sandbagging. He believes Mercedes have been sandbagging in the first test, and even Lewis Hamilton said, "Look, we're not going for ultimate lap times at the moment. We're testing everything to make sure that it works. We're following a program that we're given as drivers, and the engineers are doing their bit."
It would be a crazy thing for a team like Mercedes to lose like a second and a half over the winter.
Yeah,
That would be crazy.
it would be a bit.
Seeing as every car was meant to be 2 seconds a lap slower this year, and as it turns out, this year's testing times are already faster than
That's
last
not
year's.
happening, is that? It's already faster than last year's,
Yeah.
and we reckon the sandbagging. That's good.
Less than
Yeah.
1 minute laps around Austria.
I don't think it'll be that much. I mean, what was it?
104 in qualifying, was it?
Yeah, I think we'll be seeing something in the 102s in qualifying in Austria this year.
It leads to Formula Flood as well. The my worry was less aero would give us slower Formula One cars, which might make Formula One look a little bit silly. But clearly, a bit less aero and a bit more ground effect as well.
Yeah.
It would work.
Which is partially stolen from Formula Nico Rosberg, if I'm perfectly honest. But I believe, and Martin Brundle advocates it as well. It's the way forward.
Formula Rosberg. It's the national championship of Finland, Germany, Monaco, Italy. Rosbergia.
There's a man that's got a nice suit or two.
Yeah, Hugo Boss sponsorship though, innit?
There's a man that's got a nice passport or four.
With Britney stickers all over it. That's still one of the best pranks ever.
Yeah.
Who was it that pulled that? Was it
Mark
Mark
Webber.
Webber.
Was it Mark Webber
Yeah.
when they were teammates at Williams?
Yeah.
Yeah. Put a Britney Spears photo over his passport photo because his nickname was Britney.
I mean, you say a bit of ground effect, but the rake on that Renault, it's immense.
Yeah.
It's pointing downhill even when it's on the flat.
That seems to be a way Formula One cars go now, isn't it?
It's not full on ground effect.
It's
just,
more pronounced on the Renault than any of the other cars. They've all got a bit of rake, but
I
the
wonder
Renault,
whether that's colour though. I wonder if that's a little bit of colour scheme that makes it seem
don't-
more exaggerated.
I don't know. You can see more of the
Of the
more of the
ground.
ground
Yeah.
under it than you can with the other cars.
It seems to be
I
a
think
trait with Renault cars as well, because like the Red Bull was always really rakey as well, wasn't it?
Is it Ricardo's personal preference? Do you know what? I reckon we need to ask a technical expert on this. Should we have Scarbs on next week?
That's
Let's
a
do
good
that.
idea.
If he wants to come.
Just one more
I'll
thing.
check. Yes, he does.
One more thing on the Renault thing. Does look quite good for the team in that both and they're not doing their debriefs at the same time, obviously because of the testings, but Hulkenberg and Ricciardo have both given identical feedback to the team as to how they want the car set up when
Well,
they've
that's
taken it
good.
out. So the team.
So you
doesn't-
don't have drivers fighting with each
Yeah.
other for
Yeah,
changes.
nobody's pulling the team one way and pulling the team the other way. They both want exactly the same thing, and this was only pointed out to both of them after testing had finished and said, "Read each other's debriefs."
I really like Daniel Ricciardo. I think it's very difficult not to like him, but I can't help. There's this little bit in me that wants Jeremy Jensen Button to wipe the floor with him.
I think Hulkenberg's going to be quite close to him.
I do.
think he is.
You know, it's not because
I like Danny Rick.
It's not because I don't want Danny Rick to do well. I just think that like Hulkenberg has been there for so long with people saying like rating him and then nothing happening for him. It would be really not good for him to be put up against one of the top 4 drivers on the grid and come out on top of it.
I would say Ricciardo's probably the third best driver on the grid.
I think he is this season. Now Alonso's gone.
Yep.
You're probably right.
Yeah.
I think he's tied for third with Kimi.
Do you think?
I think Kimmy's still got it.
The thing is,
Kimi on his day is brilliant. Kimi not on his day is coming
Yeah.
7th in a Ferrari that can win races.
Yeah.
Kimi needs a car to work for him. If the car doesn't work for him, he's no good in it.
I think that's what we'll see with Alfa Romeo this year because they are going to make that car for him.
Maybe.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if that Alfa Romeo isn't up there, how quickly Kimi becomes demotivated. That'll be interesting.
Yes, you can really tell the difference between motivated Kimi and demotivated Kimi.
Not by looking at them, but just by looking at times.
See, now imagine being Antonio Giovinazzi and getting Giovinazzi and getting Kimmy's debriefs to read. Is that it?
It was all right.
Just one sheet of paper.
There's a wheel on each corner.
He's the guy, isn't he? He's the guy at work that gets told, like, can you just fill your timesheet in properly?
Yeah.
I was here.
Yeah.
One thing I did find out this week: the official F1 podcast, Beyond the Grid, is coming back in a couple of weeks, and Kimmy's the first guest.
Oh, is it? That'd be
Do
good.
not operate heavy machinery after listening to that show.
Or during. Yeah.
So, testing on TV. Anybody catch any of it?
I saw a good chunk.
Nope.
I'm a complete lazy sod. When I do work, I work from home, so I was in front of the TV all week.
Yeah.
I think it worked.
I think it was okay.
I caught a little bit at a lunchtime catch up.
I think the way that they did it, it wasn't sort of hardcore commentary and play-by-play analysis. It was very relaxed. It struck me as being very podcasty.
I think they did it was actually. I think they did a good job with not doing the morning session.
Which was available on F1 TV, but we didn't get to see it over
Yeah,
here.
but I bet that helped the Sky coverage on the television, because it gave them something else to talk about, because they could talk about the morning session during the afternoon session,
Which they did a few times.
yeah. So, I'd be interested to know what the viewing figures were like for it.
I'll keep a lookout on the Motorsport Broadcasting blog, who seem to manage to get the viewing figures when other organisations don't. But no, I thought it worked really well, because they were having commentators or people commentating or taking the lead role on there that you don't normally do. Simon Lazenby is actually quite good when he's not reading off an auto cue.
Yeah.
As it turned out. Craig
Quite human.
Yeah. Craig Slater, on the other hand, also appeared during the week.
Yeah.
Who didn't appear?
Ted Kravitz didn't appear during the week.
And Ted Kravitz, who also...
And the internet noticed.
Well, the internet noticed, but the internet also noticed that Ted got rid of all of the Sky branding from his Twitter account, which is still missing, however.
However, today, Sky put another post out plugging their subscribe to Sky Sports F1 this year. It's only 10 quid. Read the small print.
Yeah.
It isn't only 10 quid a month.
And who's on the team?
Ted Kravitz.
Yes, Ted is on Sky F1 this year. We did try in vain, very briefly, to get the unemployed Ted, if he was unemployed, to join Three Legs, Four Wheels.
Hashtag 3 legs, 4 wheels, 1 Ted. I'm still proud of that
That's
one.
a good
That's
hashtag.
very good. It's a very good hashtag. I liked it a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, Ted Kravitz hasn't actually been on Twitter since... he's been on Twitter once since last year, and that was the Haas launch. And it was
No,
just,
he retweeted Sky's thing today.
up till this morning,
Yeah.
he'd only been on Twitter once since last year.
Yeah, so
But the hashtag Save Ted appears to have worked. Ted is saved.
whether it's reinstated or just had his contract sorted
Yeah.
out, we don't know.
I
but-
think there must be something going on, otherwise it would have been nipped in the bud quickly.
Doesn't everyone love Ted Kravitz? No one hates Ted, do they?
I would say, I don't want to speak for everyone here. If you don't like Ted Kravitz, I don't really want you listening to the podcast I'm on. I don't think this is for you.
Don't think Ted ever really shows any bias towards anyone, does he? He seems to love talking to everyone.
I'm sure people who don't like Lewis Hamilton will be convinced he has a Lewis Hamilton bias.
And people who don't like Sebastian Vettel will be convinced he has a Vettel bias.
But I think
That just says to me he's doing his job perfectly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But as someone in the pit lane who notices shit going on,
Yeah.
I don't think there's anyone better.
No. Well, he's been doing that since ITV, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, his first year was 97,
Yeah,
98,
yeah.
something like that.
97.
97?
Yeah.
So, yeah, very interesting.
Notebook saved. That's all. That's all we really need to.
Well, Ted's notebook's brilliant because it literally is his notebook.
But do you know what? I genuinely don't feel things like this about things.
You generally don't feel things. That's
No.
just the way you are.
But there was a little bit of me thought, motherfucker, if they've sacked Ted, I genuinely would like to find another way to watch Formula One. Fuck Sky off. I don't want Sky anyway. I fucking hate paying that bill. But yeah, if that had happened, I think that might have tipped me over the edge.
What about Formula One TV?
Which we still can't get over here, even the highlights package, because... And if anyone from FOM's listening, can you at least sort that bit out and admit that the Isle of Man exists? It's available on the drop-down menu. When you select your country that it's available in, you go to the page and say, sorry, it's not available in your territory.
Yeah.
Personal
We need
rant.
to fucking stop these things, because geo-locking stuff, because like
Yeah, way to
VPNs,
globalise things.
VPNs are so easy and so cheap now. There is if you want to watch Hulu in the UK, it's going to cost you what, probably £30 a year if you really need to see whatever that show is. It's fucking stupid.
One of these days it'll happen. But
2026.
But the problem is with the way that TV rights deals are negotiated, and we're talking like huge amounts of money, because something like the Premier League, the amount of money that the UK broadcasters are paying for the exclusive rights, and they can't even show the majority of games, the ones that kick off at 3:00 on a Saturday afternoon because of an archaic British law that says no club football is allowed to be shown on TV between 3:15 and 5:15 on a Saturday afternoon.
Strange.
That, yeah. You're only allowed to show the cup final or international matches.
I can't help but think that the Sky deal is taking Formula One and pinned it. Because it's European markets, isn't it, with Sky and America? Is it? No, not American. They've got F1 TV, haven't they?
Yeah. Well, no, they've got ESPN as well.
Yeah, but
the thing is, Sky are in bed with FOM because Sky are providing the coverage to ESPN and all the British coverage to Formula One TV.
yeah, I mean Formula One's such a big thing. I don't think finding a provider would be, someone to provide the feed would be the hardest thing in the world. To put the world feed out to tender, I'm sure there's going to be a couple of production companies that would have a go.
Well, no,
at that.
Formula One actually make all the pictures.
Yeah.
Sky put the commentary on top of it.
Oh yes, that's what I mean. So right, well it is an easily fixed problem, but like it is something like 2026, isn't it? That Sky deals up.
I think it is, yeah.
And I can't help but think that means Formula One is tied up to a subscription TV network, and by the time that's up, subscription TV will already be irrelevant. Because Sky feels irrelevant and antiquated now.
I think it's probably because subscription TV... I mean, we're getting way off topic here, but subscription TV is getting that fragmented. Because now if you want to watch... And I'm going back to football on this.
Yeah.
You've got to subscribe to Sky and BT if you want every game that's available.
Yeah.
If you're a cricket fan, you've got to have... Again, it's Sky and BT.
Yeah.
Because that's split because BT have bought the European rights to all the cricket in Australia. And it's just getting that messed up that gone are the days where even you got Sky, you got access to everything. Now you need to have subscriptions to 2 or 3 different channels
Yeah.
to get something. If you're a masochist, then you get Premier Sports so you can watch NASCAR. Or if you're a sadist, you get Premier Sports so you watch ice hockey.
Yeah.
But we digress. Well, we do frequently. I think that probably covers everything sort of news related at the moment. Oh, except to say that the thing that Dan pointed out to us last week about the gearboxes, they are going to be standardised from one supplier from 2021 onwards.
That's been ratified.
Yes. I think that's a good thing because that will take one area of development away from teams so they can concentrate on other parts of the car
Yeah.
with a standardised part.
It's a boring part as well. It's not one of the bits that I would think even you geeky people are into.
Well,
No,
you
it's
put
not
different gearboxes in for different races. You don't take your same gearbox
No.
that you have at Monza to Monaco because of the
Well, you might-
ratios in there.
I think
Yeah,
the
you
ratios
do.
are fixed as
The
part of the rules
ratios,
now, aren't
the
they?
ratios are fixed at the start of the season.
Oh, are they really?
Yeah.
Oh God.
Those gearboxes, each driver selects their gear ratios for the year. They make 4 gearboxes for that driver, and they are sealed with an official FIA sticker.
Oh dear.
That was a while ago that happened. They made a really, really big deal about it, and then it appeared not to matter in the slightest.
You put a lot of strain on your gearboxes, but you go short ratios early on, and then make them longer as the gearbox goes up the rate. It goes up the gears.
Yeah.
But no,
But
that
your
is,
gearbox would explode quite quickly.
but that is a thing that doesn't happen anymore. It's all set at the start of the season.
Okay.
I personally think it's a good idea. I don't want to see Formula One as a spec series, but some standardised parts would be a good idea, freeing the teams up for things. Stuff that's out of the way and hidden, make it all standard, but let teams have their own aero, their own diffuser,
Yeah,
their
their
own
own
flaws, things,
suspension.
yeah,
Yeah.
things like that. But even standardise the crankshafts because they don't matter as much as a front wing does.
Especially once the gearbox is standardised.
Yeah. I don't want to see it become a spec series like IndyCar or Formula E, where every car is exactly the same shape with the same aero kit on there.
Formula E races have been pretty good, though.
True, but it's not in the Formula One genes, is it? Because go back through the years,
Yeah,
and
I know what you mean.
every car looks different.
Yeah.
All right, the differences are going to be are a lot more subtle these days compared to the 80s and 90s. But you can still, you don't just see a silhouette of a car and go, that I don't know who that is without seeing the livery on it.
I know this is going to be an unpopular opinion with a lot of people, but I can't help thinking that the future of single-seater motor racing is a spec series that's the sole job of that spec of car is to be the fastest cars on the planet, and that to attract the best drivers in the world.
But I have to be honest. There are some electric road cars coming out now that contain a lot more power than Formula One cars.
The new Tesla that's coming out will do 0 to 60 in 1.2 seconds.
Yeah.
God, they managed to drive one of them into space. How fast do you have to go for an escape velocity?
About 11,000 miles an hour.
Exactly.
Dan knows things.
You've been playing Kerbal Space Program as well. Yeah, it's great, isn't it? Got it on a Steam sale just before Christmas.
Lads, let me shunt you.
Is it that time?
I do believe it is that time. Insert theme tune here.
Let us be shunted.
Who's this week's from?
Let me open the fucking app.
Oh. You go on about how great that iPad is. Where's the psychic link on it? You're having to do physical things. I'm sorry, it's just not doing it for me.
This one is from Captain Chaos.
Captain Chaos?
That was Dom DeLuise in the Cannonball Run.
Is Captain his first name or his title?
No, it's double-barreled. It's James Captain Chaos.
I don't know. I don't care. I really, really don't care.
Thanks, Cap.
Talking to Total Shunt, by the way, just last week. Yes, you do have to change your name by deed poll to Camouflage Hutton.
I was born
Yay.
in 1915.
Ooh.
I'm Paul.
Hand gestures across the table, everyone.
I first imported goods from America to sell in 1929 before becoming the first in Europe to manufacture my own in 1932.
Born in 1915 and started importing goods in 1929.
Possibly a company rather than a person.
I was going to say, getting your own import company set up at 14.
Well, don't forget, back then you only lived till you were 16, so you had to get your 30s in when you were 10.
Renault.
He'd done 8 years up the chimneys by that
Yeah,
point.
that's true.
You had a midlife crisis at 6.
Imported goods from the States before becoming the first in Europe to make them.
Renault.
I think we need clue 3.
I'm not sure the England's very good here. on something, but I might be wrong. My manufacturing operation was in was in a steel sockets. So that must say stocket. Where ancient manor house of Chesterfield Earls Manor stood before moving to the North Circular Road in Chingford,
Not Renault.
where I stayed till 1994. And I'd like a guess.
Chingford's Essex, isn't it?
Don't all guess at once.
Yes, Chingford is in Essex.
Well, it's definitely East London. Now, the only car company that I can think of based in the sort of East London, Essex area is Ford.
Dagenham, though, that's not
Yeah.
Chingford.
Anyone know where Cosworth are based?
Northamptonshire.
Bugger.
And
I think.
And it wouldn't be Vauxhall because they were formed in Vauxhall, which is South London.
Could it be Lotus?
No, because Colin Chapman set Lotus up in the 50s.
Not Lotus, then.
Bentley.
Yeah, but you know what? We'll get. Let's go with Bentley. We'll get a better idea as the clues go on. Hopefully.
My product was the world's best-selling brand with 30% of the world's market. At one point in the 60s, I had 50% of the world's market share.
Someone like Avon Tires.
Yeah, definitely wouldn't be Bentley.
Yeah, I would guess not a tyre company if they set up in a steel socket. A steel stockist. You're
Although-
looking at someone who does stuff with metal.
Although
My band.
tires used to have steel innards. Don't anymore, but
I would have been thinking brakes rather than tyres, maybe.
Number 5.
yeah.
Yes, please.
I entered mainstream championship motorsport in 1975 in the Shell Sport F5000 European Championship. I finished 6th and equals 7th in the championship standings.
Oh, God.
We'll remind you, lads, that you are playing against the people now.
Next clue.
Where is the next clue? Oh, that's good. This one's not so wordy. I was F1 for 3 seasons, 1967 and 1978. Oh, sorry, 1976 to 1978.
That's more than 3 seasons.
Sorry.
76, 77, 78.
Oh, 76. Right.
In F1 for only 3 seasons. Some kind of short-lived team.
Hesketh.
James Hunt drove for him in 75.
You have one more question before I need an answer.
Wolf.
South African. And James Hunt went to them after he left McLaren.
I'm warned for protection, and if I fail, the consequences can be very serious and could result in death.
Sparco, racing suit manufacturer.
Helmet manufacturer.
I'd like a guess.
Bella British, aren't they?
Yeah.
But they're still in Formula One.
True.
Get your helmets out, lads.
Sparco have been in Formula One more recently. I know everybody uses Alpine Stars gear these days. Or just about everyone does.
Yeah. Formula 1 drivers in the 90s were wearing Sparco race suits and even, boots and gloves and that.
It's going to be something safety related.
That was only in F1 from 76 to 78.
Gaffer tape.
Definitely still in NASCAR, the amount they used in Daytona last week. Apparently there was a race last night, but I didn't bother.
This one's too difficult.
I think we'll have to bank a guess. Oh, we're not allowed to do that
Nope.
anymore, are we? Who makes seatbelts?
Seatbelt. Although they've been in Formula One for years and years.
Who did it before them?
No idea.
This is tough.
It's been a strong start to Total Shunt this year.
Go
Strong
Sparko.
start.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, we'll just throw Sparko in. I don't think we've got anything else.
I was unveiled at my first F1 launch in 1976.
That's the same as one of the other clues,
Yeah.
but okay.
And it's helped us about as much as the other clue did.
In my 3 years of F1, I had 9 drivers. Out of 48 possible racing starts, I contested 36. I did not qualify 11 times. I had 20 finishes, scoring 35 World Championship points. My best F1 result was 4th. My best overall result was 2nd in 1976. It was 2nd in the 1976 non-championship race at Brands Hatch.
So probably the International Race of Champions then. Which I always thought was really ironic. You have the International Race of Champions, which is a non-championship race for champions.
Would you like your last clue?
I don't think it's going to help us.
There is. I have a selection of spaffers. He's given 4 spaffers.
I think we'll need at least 5 of them.
I think. Well, the spaffer rule is 1 clue. So what we might do is, to make it interesting, is you can pick a number between 1 and 4, and that'll give you your spaffer. One of my drivers went on to become world champion. I will specify that was Formula One. I'm going to say now, if you give me a number between 1 and 4, you can have your spaffer clue, because I think you're probably going to need it.
3's a charm.
Yeah, it is.
I'm known for durability, reliability, and excellence.
Durex.
Yes.
I don't believe this. I think it was Captain Chaos I was having a chat with on Twitter, talking about bizarre sponsors, and I mentioned this in this Twitter conversation with somebody, and they turned it into a total shunt.
You could remember that about half an hour ago. Give yourself half a point.
I always thought they were based in Peterborough,
Well,
the London Rubber Company.
Don't think I ever had a box long enough to read it.
Used to go past the factory on the train. There was London Brickworks and the Durex factory next to each other. I really do know some utter crap. I'll start doing pub quizzes again. Captain Chaos, thank you very much for that.
yeah.
If you want to send a total shunt in, how would you go about it?
You can send me a PM on Twitter at a total shunt.
And if you want to get in touch with the rest of us, you can get at 3 Legs 4 Wheels or
At Dan Dankleton.
At Flood21.
and at Pablo100. Quick Formula Lee update. We are midway through the last race of the Winter Series because the real 2019 season starts next week, because that'll mean it's only two shows before the first Grand Prix.
Yay.
So what we're doing for this one is the 1992 Williams in the dry in Spain. I don't think I've told you that last week, because I
Made it up.
made it up on the fly because I had to do it as a drop in. Plenty of time, plenty of chance to get your times in. You've got until next Monday to do it.
Might have a go at that.
You can send them in on email 3legs4wheels@gmail.com. You can send them on a private message on Twitter or a private message on Facebook. If you're on PS4, add me as a friend, Pabstar, and I'll be able to see your times on the screen in the game as well. We'll see who's come out top of the Winter Series next week.
Yeah, we will.
God.
Paul's knocking shit over.
I'm knocking things over all the time. Right, we'll be back next week. All being well, we will have Craig Scarborough on the show with us, so expect a technical special next
That's
week.
the plan.
And hopefully more guests to come during the course of the year as well. But one last thing. there is the extra show that we do every week on Patreon. You can subscribe to that from as little as $1 a month, and all the money that you subscribe goes straight back into the podcast for things like What Happened Tonight, because we're on a reserve microphone because there's a poorly microphone sat on the desk.
Yes,
Only-
there is.
Only just come back from getting repaired.
Purely microphone.
So, every little helps. To get that, you just go to patreon.com/3legs4wheels and you can sign up there. I think that's about it. We'll see you next week.
Yeah, boy.
I think so.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Right.
Bye bye.